How's everybody doing?
Good.
Okay, good.
Okay. Okay, so what I have on our agenda, first of all, any questions about the recordings, how to get to the recording that I added to the website, all of that?
No.
No. Okay, good. Okay. So tonight I was going to go over the Friday night structure. And I'm going to give you this website in our class recap because I think it was a really good one. From a website called Exploring Judaism. And I'll show you what it looks like, but I'll send it in the recap. But here's what it looks like. And it gives you actually a very, very good history of how we came about. How did we come about? We have two parts of Friday night. We have Kabbalah Shabbat. And then we have Mariv, right? Which is the regular Friday, which is the regular evening prayer service. Kabbalah Shabbat is a bunch of songs welcoming Shabbat. And then traditionally in between Kabbalah Shabbat and Mariv, the rabbi will give a little sermon. And some synagogues, that's when people will go light candles and then come back and do the official evening service. So they'll give you a little history of all of these things, including Lecha Dodi, which is one of the last prayers in Kabbalah Shabbat. And then they'll give you a little bit about Mariv for Shabbat, for Friday night. And I like it, gives you a little bit of everything. It gives you a little depth. So I'll let you guys read that on your own. And if you have any questions, you'll let me know. Let me go to my 2 Sidurim. I finally actually bookmarked them so that I didn't have to keep looking for them. And here's Shabbat evening. And I'm going to open up also the, I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second so I don't drive you crazy. I'm going to open up the other Sidur so I can flip back and forth. I finally found the Lev Shalem online. So that I could follow along with everyone else. Okay. I'm just increasing it. Okay. So, before I share, tell me, is there any specific prayer you want to go over? Whether it's Yedid Nefesh, Lecha Dodi, or do you want me to just kind of go through, explain them as we're going along?
That sounds like a good idea.
Okay. All right. So we'll do that. If we need to take another class, we can take another class to do it. It's fine. Okay. So this is the Sim Shalom Sidur. And I have Lev Shalem here also that I can skip to. There it is. So we start with Yedid Nefesh. And there are some good notes on Yedid Nefesh here, which I wanted to do. Yedid Nefesh. So this basically is the first thing we say at Kabbalah Shabbat. It kind of sets the tone for what we're doing that night, right? We're welcoming Shabbat. And Shabbat is all about thanking God for our week and praising God, right? So we start with Yedid Nefesh.
Where do you know what page that's on in the Cedar Sim
in the
Shalom?
in the big one.
Yes,
252.
252. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
There we go. And
Yeah, I have it. Thank you.
you got it? Okay. So it's
Yes, thank you.
Nefesh Avarachaman, right? Very, very slow, singy, getting us into Shabbat. And here is the translation, right? Soulmate, loving God, take my disposition and shape it to your will. Just very much, let's get into how much we love God, how much about that sort of thing. Yedid in Hebrew means friend. Nefesh means soul. So this is the friend of my soul, which I really love. Okay. Then there's a bunch of Tehillim that come right afterwards. And the person that leads the service will do the first two sentences, and then the last paragraph, the last stanza. And in between, we're reading on our own. Again, these are things that the only reason you really want to be able to follow along in the Hebrew is so that when they get to this square, or in Lev Shalem to the, triangle or whatever, that you're following along with them, you know what page they're on. But when you're doing silent prayer, since your first language is English, you're going to want to go to the English and see what it has to say here, right? And kind of think about, a lot of what I do in Kabbalah Shabbat is I'll pick one prayer and I'll kind of think about how does this relate to me this week or today or something like that. I don't necessarily have every single prayer in mind all of the time, because in order to contemplate it, you want to go slow in your contemplation. If you're contemplating every single prayer and how it relates to you, then you're not doing enough. I mean, for me, everybody's different. For me, I'm not doing enough inward soul searching. And that's what I like to do during those prayers. So again, here's another psalm. The cantor or the person leading the services will start Shir L'Adonai Shir Chadash, Shir L'Adonai Kol Haaretz, and then everybody will read silently, and they'll pick it up at the bottom, right? This one they may pick up here, Yismechu Hashamayim, and they'll do that because that's kind of a sing-songy. Or they'll just do the last two lines. So Friday night's again combination of maybe Kabbalah Shabbat's maybe 2 or 3 songs before you get to Lecha Dodi, but it's mostly the first line, the last lines, you do everything in between, kind of on your own, right? And
Well, actually, in our services, when we read the English with, where it's separated, someone will be reading English and then the congregation will join in for the next 2 lines. We alternate like
that's
that
nice.
mostly.
That's
But
very
then
nice.
someone is singing the lines you talked about, beginning and the end, in Hebrew.
There you go.
Reading in
So
that
that's
part.
really I like that tradition. That's very nice because then you're getting to know what the prayer is really about. Because the number of people that know all of the middle lines is very small, right? The percentage is very small as to what it is, and if they're not reading the English, they're not, most of their, everybody's first line, not everybody's, but majority of them, their first language is English. So, okay. Let me just move this back onto this screen so I could see you guys. So I like that, Terry. That's a great a great tradition to have. So again, these at my synagogue, at least, we do every single one where we do the first two, the last two. This one we stand for this, and this is actually the same psalm that we say Shabbat morning when we put away the, is it when we put away the Torah? When we take out the Torah, So, but Friday night, there's a different tune, right? So Friday night, it's Havu Ladonai B'nei Elim, Havu Ladonai Kavod Va'oz. And Shabbat morning, now I have to think of what the tune is Shabbat morning. I'd have to actually go to let me go into the Siddur, only because then it'll spark my maybe this isn't it. Wrong. Oh, this isn't it. Sorry, different one. Difference on the three-sided Saturday morning when we put away the Torah. But now I have it. So when we get there, because we say it twice. So, but when it said it was customary to stand, I thought it was the same one. So my bad. Okay. Sorry, I'm going back and forth here. Let's see. Okay, and then we have Lecha Dodi, right? And Lecha Dodi has so many tunes to it. But what I want to alert you to in Lecha Dodi, very much of a lot of the Psalms, a lot of the liturgy that isn't from the Torah or from Psalms or from scriptures or anything like that, will have an acrostic in it, like Ashrei, right? We went over Ashrei, where Ashrei, the first line of Ashrei starts with Aleph, the second starts with Bet and Gimel, because we didn't have enough Siddurim for every single person to have their own Siddur, so they memorized what it would be. And it was easier to memorize some of these things that were not scripture as acrostics. This Lecha Dodi was written by Shlomo HaMelech, right? King Solomon, excuse me. And so his name is the acrostic. So see how the first stanza starts with the Shin, Lamed, Mem, Hey, that's Shlomo. Ha, oh, then the English, sorry. Halevi. Shlomo Halevi, not Shlomo HaMelech, Levi, Lamed Vet Yud. And so that's just an example of, like Ashrei, an example of how the acrostic comes into it. Is this a prayer you guys want to go over in Hebrew?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so let's read this one. I think this one's important because
Can you make it a little larger?
Yes, of course. I was worried of making it too large and starting to scroll through, and then everybody was going to get a headache. So can everybody see it?
Yeah.
Is it centered in the page? Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So I will read. So this is the Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Nekabela. I will start reading here, and then I'll read the whole paragraph, and then we'll just do one sentence at a time. Okay. Shamor vezachor bedibur echad hish mi anu el ham yuchad Adonai echad ushemo echad leshem ul tif eret Ve'lithila. Couple of big words in there. Terry, why don't you start us off with the first sentence?
You don't mean lahadodi. The next one, right?
With Shamor.
Lahadodi likrat kala. Panei Shabbat ni Kabbalah. Shemor. Vizivor.
Zachor.
Hakor. Bid Dibor. Ehad. Ehar.
Echad.
Ehad.
Yep, you were right the first time. Okay. Sandra, why don't you do the next line?
So Hishmi Av Anu El Ham Ruchad.
Perfect. Libby?
Echad et Ushmo Echad.
Yep, that's Adonai Echad, right? Adonai Echad.
Adonai Echad Ushmo Echad.
Okay. Terry, back to you. Sorry, I'm giving you these two big words, but go ahead. You could do it, and I'll help you.
L'shem. Barrett.
Eret.
Eret.
Eret. Yep.
Chief Eret. Fully. Hela.
Yep. Ve'lithila. Right? Okay.
Elitila.
All right. The next stanza. Likrat Shabbat lechu ve'nelcha ki hi mekor ha-bracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh be'machashava techila. Sandra.
Likrat Shabbat Lechu V'neilcha.
Perfect. Libby.
Ki Mechor Ha-bracha.
Terry.
May Rosh. Korim.
Kedem.
Mekedem.
Mhm.
Oh, gee. Nasu va.
Ha. Sandra.
Sof Ma'ashed
Se.
B'machashava Tehila.
Perfect. And you want to do this line?
Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala Panei Shabbat Kabbalah.
Perfect. I figure everybody should do that one. Okay. I'll read the next one. Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha Kumi Sei Mitoch Hahafecha Rav Lach Shevet Be'emek Habacha Vehu Yachamol Alayich Chemla. We're up to Terry, I think.
Mikadesh, Melech, or
Ear,
ear, Malu, ha,
perfect. Libby,
Kumi, Sa'i, Mitoch, Ha.
perfect. Sandra,
Rav Lach Shevet Be'emek Habacha.
Terry,
Bapu, ya, Mol, Alenu,
La Yi,
Ala, Nik,
Yi. Mhm.
Hamlaha,
Easier. Cham La.
Hamlaha.
Good, good, good. Okay. All right. This one's a little bit, the first part's a little difficult, but we're going to just take it syllable by syllable. Hit na ari me afar kumi leave she big day tif artech ami al yad ben yishai beit halachmi korva, see that kamatz katan, el nafshi ge'ala. Sandra, I think we're up to you.
Heat Na'ari Me'afar Kumi.
Libby,
Levish,
leave she,
Livshi, Bagday, Tif Aret Techa, Ami.
okay, tifar tech. That's
Tif-
just
Tifartech,
yep, perfect.
Ami.
Terry,
El Yad,
mm-hmm.
Ben Yis Sai,
Ye shy,
Ishai, Beit Hala Me,
Sandra,
Keraba El Nafshi Ge'ala.
perfect. All right. Hit oreri, ki va orech, kumi ori, uri, shir da beiri, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Libby.
It's a hard one.
It's the
Heat.
same word twice. So just do syllable by syllable and you're going to be fine.
Heat o re. Heat o re.
Perfect.
Heat.
You got it. All right, Terry.
Kiva Urek Ka U My
Kumi.
Ku Me,
It's all good.
E Ray.
Ori.
Ori.
Perfect. All right, Sandra.
Uri, Uri, Shir, Daberi.
Libby.
Kavod Adonai Alayich Nigla.
And do this line. I don't think you've done this one yet.
Lachol Lacha Dodi Likrat Kala Panei Shabbat Nikabala.
There you go. So I just want you to notice one thing. So on the second line, Kiva Orech Kumi Ori Uri Shir Daberi. So it gets a little like goes from Ori to Uri. It's a little confusing, but now again, I don't want you to be worried about all these little pronunciations, all these little things. You were so worried, Libby, about Hitoriri, and you did it perfectly, because it's all about the syllables, whatever. Again, it depends on what you're looking for. Some people are looking for, listen, I want to read from the Torah. I want to have my adult bat mitzvah, all of that. And if that's the case, then yeah, let's improve on that and all of that. But if you're looking to just follow along in the Siddur, which is what we're looking to do in this class, you guys are all doing phenomenal. You can follow along and you can do this. So I'm not worried that any of you are like behind or not getting it enough or anything like that. So don't feel like if somebody's reading better than you, quicker than you, whatever, getting it, this vowel, that vowel, if you can follow along with it and you're able to, then that's all, that's all I'm wanting you to do. Okay, so we'll only do that part. Again, I want to do a little reading, a little explaining. I don't want it to be so boring. Okay, so that is one of the last prayers. At the end of this prayer, if you're in mourning, you go to shul on Shabbat. You don't sit shiva on Shabbat. You go to shul on Shabbat. And it's important that you go Friday night, because after Lecha Dodi, you're not in Kabbalah Shabbat when you're in mourning, because it's very joyous. A lot of singing, a lot of, Lecha Dodi, is the last part of the songs of Kabbalah Shabbat. And so this is the time when the mourners will walk into the room. Everyone will turn to them, welcome them into the room. It's a little intimidating, but it is, it's a great ritual. It makes you feel, comforted and all of that. And then this last one is a song also, but it is a lot more subdued. It's not, rah-rah. It's just, again, we're welcoming the Shabbat. And the English is a lot more exciting to look at, but this is basically, a Shabbat song. For Saturday morning, you won't sing this, but you'll say this as part of the Psalms of Pesukei de Zimra, of the opening ones. And then Mourner's Kaddish, and there, in the Siddur, there's a bunch of sources of study and reflection, that sort of thing, but the rabbi will usually get up, or the cantor or someone will get up, talk about this week's parsha, maybe a little bit, how it relates to our lives today, that sort of thing. It's usually really short. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 7 minutes. Maybe if you have a guest lecturer, this is when they'll get up and speak. And then you go into Mariv. And like I said, sometimes some congregations will have everyone light candles at that time also. And then you'll come back to the Baruch Hu, right? And we went over this when we went over Shabbat Shacharit, that the Baruch Hu is kind of the call to worship, kind of, okay, everyone, now we're going to start praying. So even though we just had this warm up and all that, now we're going to really start praying. There is a difference between this Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach, Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed. In the morning, it's a different paragraph than in the evening, okay? In the evening, let me go to here. Praised are you who rules the universe, your word bringing the evening dusk. You open with wisdom the gates of dawn, design the day with wondrous skill, set out the succession of the seasons, arrange the stars in the sky. You create day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness away from light. Eternal God, your sovereignty shall forever embrace us. Praised are you for the evening's dusk. Now, I'm going to go and show you Shabbat. Actually, every morning is a little bit different. I'm going to find it before here it is. It's right here. So on Shabbat morning, all creatures praise you. All declare there is none holier than Adonai. All exalt you, creator of all. And it, gives everything God has created and all of that. Because again, on Shabbat, we are so more focused on God than our own internal prayers, right? Now,
What page are you on with that?
that page, that page is, I'll tell you in the big book, you want to know? In the big book, it is page 340.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm also going to flip to every morning because I want you to see kind of the difference in this. So I'm going to find the weekday morning. So we're calling to worship, but then we have a different prayer we say after that for each one. I'm going to find it. Give me 1 second. Here it is. Okay. It's this one and the big one's on page 96. And I'm about to go to find it for every morning. Daily morning. Here we go. Give me 1 second while I scroll. There it goes. Okay. So praised are you who rules the universe, creating light and fashioning darkness, ordaining the order of all creation, right? So different from at 9, saying, thanks for banishing all that darkness and creating light, right? And again, then we go into all the different ways that we've illumined the earth and creatures and all of that. But I just find it fascinating that we're calling people to worship at a specific time of day, and then we're recognizing what's so spectacular about that time of day, right? You can be, you can be fascinated when you wake up that the sun is shining. You can be fascinated when you wake up of all different things, but how exciting is it that every time we call to worship, we're kind of recognizing the time of day and what's different about that we just got light time, that we just went into darkness, right? And, you know, thinking of the fact we know now that the reason that we have light and darkness is that the earth is turning, right? And so every time the earth turns away from the sun, it's night. Every time the earth turns towards the sun, it's day. But imagine back in those times where we didn't have that science, we were like, thank you, God, for making it dark. Like, we need to go to sleep. We need to get our rest for tomorrow morning. Thank you, God, for making light. We have to harvest our crops and do all of these things that we can't do under the cover of nightfall. So I just think I always think that's pretty fascinating when we have the Baruch Hu and we're able to see that we're thanking for different things. Okay, so we do the Baruch Hu. We talk about how much God loves the earth and how much we love the earth. And then we go to the Shema, which is, again, same Shema. The Shema doesn't change the 3 times a day, or the 4th if you're saying it at night. The number of times, the 3 to 4 times a day you say it, it doesn't change. It's the same exact prayer. Right? So I find that fascinating also, that here we are, the Baruch Hu, a prayer or two before, that we change part of it based on the time of day we're saying it. But the Shema, which we say 3 times a day, we say it before we go to sleep. And it's the prayer that if you're on your deathbed, the rabbi will recite it with you. You know, I think it's the most central prayer to our religion. It's the prayer that's most known in our religion, right? I've told you the story of Hillary Rodham Clinton. It's the prayer she knows the best, and Bill Clinton, they know that prayer and they know how to say it. Just the Shema part. But they recognize that. So I think that's always very fascinating. And then, you know, and then it's a regular evening service with a couple of, you know, Shabbat Psalms thrown in there. But otherwise, Kabbalah Shabbat is really the, I'm going to reduce this so I don't give you guys a headache. I think the Kabbalah Shabbat, the first part of Friday night service, is really more special for Shabbat than Mariv. Mariv is, like I said, there's Vishamru in Friday night service, which is what you only say Friday night. You don't say it the rest of the week. And Vishamru is, by the way, what you say before Kiddush Saturday morning also. So I find that, you know, again, it's just your regular evening Mariv service with a few Shabbat Psalms thrown in there. And the Amida is a little bit shorter. The Amida is shorter on Shabbat because you're doing so many more prayers. And whether that's Friday night's Amida, Saturday morning, or Saturday Musaf, right? The additional service. You say Kiddush in the synagogue. Some synagogues don't do Kiddush. If they're having a dinner afterwards, they'll do it at the dinner. But part of it is Kiddush. And they do that because if somebody's not having a Shabbat dinner, they want to make sure that they say Kiddush Friday night. Aleinu, which we went over also. Again, not changed for Aleinu, is one of those prayers that's not changed by the time of day whenever we say it. And Mourner's Kaddish. Sometimes there's another psalm. And traditionally Friday night we say Yigdal instead of Adon Olam. Again, just to make Shabbat different than the rest of the week. So I'll put this in a document like I did Saturday morning, so you have the little bubbles and what they are and all of that. And that way, you know, if you're for you, Terry, at least you can kind of have it open when you're following along at home, because I know you're still doing online services. And those of you that want to fold it and throw it in your siddur or bring it with you to synagogue to follow along, that's good too. And as you're following along and as you're doing, if there's anything you want me to add to it or whatever, I have the original, I created it, so we can add or subtract anything you want to make it a little easier for you to follow along during services.
Thank you,
Okay.
Lymor.
Any other
Thank you so
questions,
much.
anything else, or? Okay, we're not going to have class next week. the 5th, because we're going to start our intermediate class on the 12th, and B, because a lot of synagogues are having Tu B'Shvat things going on Sunday night. So I want to make sure that, you can attend all of those. So we'll meet back up here in 2 weeks, and any other information I'll send you. I'm sure you'll see different people on the list coming up in the next 2 weeks or whatever, because some people will be added to the class or whatnot. Okay.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, not in the meantime, but always, any questions, anything you have, if you're going over a prayer, if you're doing something, if you're learning to read something for yourself or whatever, and you need help, just give me a call or send me an email. We'll set up a time, and I'm happy to go over it with you. Okay.
Thank you so much, Lymor. Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone.
You too. Thank you. Yeah.
Good night. Good night,
Bye.
everyone.